Today I want to share a story with you about discipline or motivation in the classroom. We have a student here who is having a difficult time buckling down and getting his work done if it wasn't an assignment or a subject in which he felt especially motivated. And this was an ongoing problem for which we had tried many different techniques of motivation as the solution. So one day, one of our teachers was working with him, and he was just working conscientiously, consistently, and getting his work done. And she praised him for this and had a conversation with him, and in which she said, you know, sometimes even if you don't feel like doing your work, you just have to do it. And he said, that's what Mr. Steele said. Now the interesting part of this story is that that's not, in fact, what Mr. Steele said. And what's interesting is what Mr. Steele did say that had this effect. So what had actually happened is that Mr. Steele had told this student a story. He said, when I was your age, I had to do some math worksheets on a daily basis, and I didn't want to do them. And so what I did is I'd crumple them up and I would hide them in my pencil box. And then he asked the student, what do you think happened? And the student said, your teacher found them and you got caught? And he said, yes, I did. And then I had so many weeks of assignments in my pencil box that for quite a while I had to spend every evening after dinner at home catching up on that work. That's all he did, was tell him that story. And from that, the student extrapolated, yeah, okay, sometimes you just have to get your work done even if you don't feel like it. And he actually applied that to his own work. Now, the interesting thing to me is, why was this the magic solution to motivating him? And I don't have a clear and easy answer to that. But what I do have is the observation that this works consistently. So when I was told this story, I remembered a story from my own parenting experience. When my daughter was 3 years old, she got invited to a birthday party. And she was a shy child and intimidated at the prospect of going to the party. And so she wasn't sure she wanted to go. And I, of course, was trying to persuade her to, because I thought she'd find it fun and I wanted her to be open to these social opportunities. So I tried everything, telling her why she shouldn't be afraid, what the party would actually be like, why it would be fun for her, etc., etc. Nothing worked. She didn't want to go to the party. Then one night at bedtime, I said, let me tell you a story about a rabbit who didn't want to go to a birthday party. And it really was just her story, only it was a rabbit instead of her. Now, I told her this story that ended with the rabbit going to the birthday party and having a great time. And after the story, she said, Mom? And I said, yes. I want to go to the birthday party. That's all it took, was the story of the rabbit. So, a pattern. This is a pattern I've seen. Instead of lecturing, instead of explaining, instead of giving them the abstract justification, tell them a story. Now, why does this work? I only have speculations. I think it works because you're not, in fact, lecturing them. And what that does is remove the feeling of pressure that they're being told they're doing something wrong and you're correcting their behavior. They're just passively listening to an interesting story from which they themselves can take away the meaning instead of you imposing it on them. I think it works because they feel like they're not alone. If you tell them a story in which you experience something similar, they feel like their struggles are normal, and that removes the pressure of feeling like something is wrong with them. I think it helps because it tends to make you be more concrete and less abstract, and enables them to grasp the meaning more easily because you're not putting it in terms that are too broad and too abstract for them to really understand. And I think it also works like all art works. Now, my rabbit story may not have been the profoundest work of art, but it is art in the sense of concretizing a value in a way that makes it vivid and extrapolates away from all unnecessary detail to focus in on a theme, in this case on a life lesson. So telling them a lesson in the form of a story has that effect of making it a tiny little work of art. So that's my lesson for today, is to try, as a means of motivation or discipline, telling a story about you being in a similar situation. Now, before I go, I just want to apologize for having been gone so long. My daughter was very sick for over a month, and as you can imagine, this is what consumed all of my energy and thoughts for a very long time. But I'm happy to report that my little rabbit is feeling much better and is right here directing my video blog from behind the camera. So I will see you again soon.